I think we would start because we don't have a lot of time, so I think it's very important we start immediately. So good morning, dear colleagues and guests, and good morning to all of those. I see 45 all in all following us online. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm very, very glad that we can welcome again Stella Kyriakides, EU Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, who already spoke to this intergroup in April 2021. So at the time our discussion were about the fitness check of the animal welfare legislation, which initiated the entire revision process we are still in the context of its Green Deal policy. The Commission embarked on a revamp of the outdated EU animal welfare legislation dating back in its key parts to the past century. At the time, we were delighted that there was finally an opening to expand the scope of the legislation, allowing it to include the protection of animal species that are so far forgotten by EU policy making. In its Farm to Fork strategy, the Commission promised to deliver revised legislative proposals on animal welfare by the second half of 2023. This became more concrete when the Commission announced that it would issue 4 proposals, a proposal for revised regulation on the transport of animals, which is very soon to come, a proposal for a regulation on animals kept for economic purposes, a proposal for a regulation on animals at the time of killing, and a proposal for an EU animal welfare labelling scheme. However, as we all know, the Commission recently decided to review its initial commitments due to, due to heavy pressure, I guess, from the agri-industry. And for this year, we can therefore assume that we can expect only the publication of a proposal on animal transport. So this allows us to have foot in the door, as we say, that it is, this revision of the animal welfare legislation is still ongoing. For the rest of the outstanding legislative proposals, the timeline is still uncertain. And I very much hope that the Commissioner can enlighten us in this regard during the meeting today. Besides the discussion about the expected proposal to revise the EU animal welfare legislation, we hopefully can also address the planned follow-up on the ECIs and the KHH and Fur-Free Europe. Not least, it would be welcome to hear also about the legislative framework for sustainable food systems. Very short, before I give the floor to our dear Commissioner Kyriakides, I would like to briefly highlight some practical aspects that you know. The meeting is streamed online on Interaxio. It will be recorded, and the video and the presentations, if there are some, will be uploaded as always on the group intergroup website afterwards. We have interpretation. Welcome also to the dear interpreters in English, French, German, Italian, and Polish. Voilà, and I won't lose more time and hand over directly to Stella Kyriakides to give us more information about the still ongoing revision process of the EU animal welfare legislation. Welcome, dear Commissioner. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, colleagues, friends, thank you, Tilly, for the warm welcome. And for inviting me today to be here for an exchange of views again. I don't need to, I think, to preach to the convicted that we know, and the Eurobarometer speaks for itself, how important animal welfare is for EU citizens. And I know, of course, that for many of us, animal welfare issues matter, and I know also of your ongoing and tireless efforts in order to promote them. So I want to start because Tilly has already given a framework of where we lie, but has also made an assumption that I would beg to disagree, that what we are not at the moment moving forward with is because of the pressure of the agricultural sector, and it is not a position that I share, and I want to be clear on that. Because I want to just assure you that from day one of my mandate, animal welfare remains the highest priority for myself and also for this Commission. I know that some of you are possibly understandably skeptical why we're only moving forward with one of the 4 legislative proposals for the revision of the legislation. So I want to be clear that the proposals that we have before us, which the Chair has already mentioned, for animal welfare at farm level, which have to do with animal welfare at the time of killing, the voluntary European label for animal welfare, are not proceeding at this time, and that is because we are not downgrading our ambitions on animal welfare. On the contrary, we are still very much considering the options to prohibit the use, to phase out and finally lead to prohibiting the use of cages. But the points in these discussions, as well as the rest of the legislation revision, and we have not been able to solve them yet, are related to the cost, are related to the length of the transition periods, and the necessary predictability of investments. Despite the fact that in the Commission we have been working for animal welfare long before this mandate for the last 40 years, I am aware, as many of you are, and we have said this from the beginning, that we need to do a great deal more. Early this year, we adopted the new rules on the transport of animals by sea. One of the reasons that this came forward earlier is because we all have shared the unfortunate number of sea tragedies like we have seen in the past 3 years, and we did not want to be witnessing to this again. We have been working on this huge part of the revision of that area of legislation, and we will be coming forward in a proposal for the protection of animals during transport. This is the most advanced of the 4 pillars that we have set out, and I believe that I can safely say that there is a tentative adoption date for the 6th of December. It's an area that you have all expressed your strong determination for improvement. I want to thank you for your contributions on this important area, and we have it scheduled to come forward to be presented for the 6th of December. Another area that I know that you're all very interested in is our response to the European initiatives for End the Cage Age. And also there's a forthcoming response due for Fur-Free Europe. For the End of Cage Age initiative, in our 2021 communication, it was explained that the conditions for phasing out cages need to be based always on scientific advice, public consultation, and of course a thorough impact assessment, and also a consideration of the appropriate lengths of the transition periods. We are working on this tirelessly to try and finalize these issues so as to be able to move forward with this initiative. On the future of fur farming in Europe, the Commission will be providing the response on this next month. So we will be providing the response on this in December. For ourselves, both of these initiatives, which were very successful citizen initiatives, have sent a clear message to all the policymakers that we need to improve animal welfare standards in the EU, we need to improve animal protection standards in the EU, and we as a Commission remain determined to do so. Now, on top of the ongoing preparatory work for the pillars of the animal welfare legislation reform, we are moving as a Commission to improve animal welfare through other means. For example, We are working to really updating and improving all the enforcement of the legislation in other areas, such as from farming to transport via the audits that are checked and checked out in the member states. And in addition, we are, by the tertiary legislation on transporting animals using livestock vessels, or via the EU Platform for Animal Welfare and the EU Reference Centres for Animal Welfare. We are also sending new mandates to EFSA, most recently on the welfare of beef cattle and the welfare of turkeys, because this will provide us for a better scientific foundation so that we can base the revised legislation. We are now at the final stages, I'm pleased to say, of appointing a new EU reference centre for the welfare of farmed aquatic animals. This is now being finalized. It's been finalized,
yes.
I think.
Yes, it will be operated by 1st of January.
It will be coming into action by 1st of January. I know that it has been finalized. I was just making sure. This has to do with, it's a new reference center looking at the welfare of farmed aquatic animals to show that we are attaching a great importance to this. So our work in terms of improving animal welfare continues. I want to thank you for your ongoing support in many of the areas. We will not lower the bar of ambition, and I look forward to our exchange of views. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stella, for this presentation where we are and what is to come still. This year even, we heard that, and I have already quite some people who want to take the floor, and the very first one this morning was Caroline. I note you all down, no worries, but we make a first round, and then I give the floor to the Commissioner, and then we make a second round. Huh? Okay, Petras, you also. Okay, Caroline.
Merci Tilly, merci Madame.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I'll have to start my contribution by sharing my anger with you. I'm angry because the European Commission and yourself had committed to 4 reform proposals on animal welfare. You had committed to this as part of the Farm to Fork strategy. You'd made this commitment to millions of European citizens who signed citizens' initiatives on End the Cage Age to publish a regulation proposal to ban cage practices in Europe. But today, what do we have before us? Absolutely nothing. We were told that these proposals were ready. Now we're being told 3 proposals won't be published before the elections. We know there'll be elections and calculations to happen, and we'll see how that pans out. But we need to consider the trust of citizens and the impact of all of this on that. This is hurting the millions of animals that are suffering because of industrial farming, pigs spending their lives in cages, chickens, fish being farmed in intensive aquaculture. So I have a few questions about the legislation that you will be proposing, because in the Commission of Inquiry there were points about veal transport and the rules for that. 2-week-old animals are transported for over 30 years between the Czech Republic and Spain, Ireland and the Netherlands, and break times were not respected. They weren't necessarily fed according to their needs. So can you commit to this kind of transport being banned? So no transport of veal before 6 weeks of age. And you mentioned another point, export by ship. You said there were tragedies over the last 3 years. In reality, we're talking about awful situations that have been happening day by day because animals are transported in shocking conditions for several days in arrival temperatures much higher than what is permitted in Europe. this is truly hard to see.
Is that okay? Yeah. Then the next one that has the floor, who asked the floor, sorry, is Francisco. Please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, the Commissioner, for being here. I would say that we can understand that maybe it's not your main position to not defend animals, because we have seen that you are committed to the cause, but we do feel that there's an overall pressure on the Commission and especially on the President to make a break on this type of legislation. We saw that on the nature restoration law, that has huge pressures. We saw that now on pesticides. We saw also when we had the pressure of the agriculture sector, when the agriculture was removed from the revision of the directive that was working on the industrial emissions. And so it's not that we think that the lobby is knocking on your door and making the proposals and trying to push you, but we do feel and we do see that there's an overall pressure for these issues to not be treated in a speedy and fair way. And so obviously there's a bit of disappointed overall here, and also in citizens, because they do gather up and join the ECIs, and they are very proactive, and then they don't feel they are represented. And if we leave this to the next mandate, we really don't know what can we expect, and we know that the priorities of the Commission change, and we know that the commissioners may change, even the presidency may change, and so that is why it's so relevant for us to really have this legislation as fast as we can, so we can start the debate, and at least we have a good approach on how to tackle these dire issues. I would just try to have more information on the fish welfare issue, because you stated that there's developments on the 1st of January. Can you clarify concretely what it is? Because it's a very interesting area that we were pushing from the beginning of the mandate, and if it implies all the fish, aquatic fish, or if it's more aquaculture. Did you analyze also the question of octopus, because that's a very dire issue for the majority of citizens here in the EU? And on the other part, probably it's not mainly on your briefcase, but I would be interested for you to let us know if there's any sensibility in the part of the Commission about a plant-based strategy. Because, for example, we see Denmark that is pushing for an action plan on plant-based strategy to also cope with these issues related to animal welfare, so citizens have more options. And so in the end, if the Commission has this sensibility that more than the protein strategy that was a total failure, if they are looking at this perspective of a new plant-based strategy in the Europe, because there's a booming market growing and citizens are demanding more, and this is also correlated to animal welfare issues. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. I take two persons more, and then I want to have a little gender balance. The next to have the floor is Aurélie, le chanteur. Beigneux, pardon. Aurélie. And then I have Thomas, Michel, Niels, Petras. So not that you think I forgot to note you down, but Aurélie.
Merci, Madame la...
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Madam Commissioner. Clearly, I'm not the only one here who feels that your speech is a bit striking. We've been seeing articles in the press saying the same thing recently. The Commission is no longer planning to revise these rules on animal welfare. Yet the EU is supposed to be providing a proposal this year to ban cages, to ban other points related to poultry, and it seems that the Commission basically is abandoning these reforms. You yourself said that at the end of 2023, the Commission will put forward a legislative proposal to end cage animal husbandry. So where are we now? No response from you today. Europeans who feel animal welfare is important, like all of us here, it is shocking to see this state of affairs, especially what President von der Leyen said recently as well. This is about the environment, it's about consumers, and even if there were a reform, clearly the ambition would have been dropped. So what about this commitment to animal welfare? What about the promises that were made? How can you justify the current situation? In the Parliament, we always focus on concrete things. Over 80% of Europeans feel animal welfare is important and want measures. 90% indeed. And if you do nothing, if you don't adopt these crucial measures and you relegate animal welfare to a second-class issue, we will see a response at the next elections.
And the last speaker for the first round, I will give the floor to Thomas. And I do perfectly understand also that you are, unsatisfied that we did not advance quicker on all these fights. But please come quicker to the question. Otherwise, because the committee, but I know you have to leave. Otherwise, not everybody can take the floor. So, Thomas, please, you have the floor.
Okay, I hear you, Tilly. Thank you, Chair. Commissioner, just to mention, we all share the disappointment. I think this does not come as a surprise for you. Secondly, also, I mean, we're aware that there was quite some political pressure, and you will not, and you're not in the position to criticize the collegium here. Well understood. Some concrete points. Why did the Commission, or do you decide to come with the legislation on animal transport so late? We all know, you know, we know it was ready already in end of August. And why did you come so late? Because it means that we cannot finalize it anymore in this mandate, which is, I mean, we will still work on it and we will do whatever we can to improve it. But can you give us a reasoning for that? Maybe you have one. And then on the other files, I understand well the pressure from agriculture sector. I'm a farmer myself. On the end of cage age, on animal welfare on farm, that this would and will have an impact on production costs. Still, I think we should have gone for it, but there I at least see where the pressure comes from and where it's leading to. But animal welfare on slaughter is not having any relevant impact on food prices. And labeling of production methods, this is something that would have been a real support to big parts of the farming sector. And I'm talking about real farmers and not some industries that produce, but farmers. Because finally, consumers could see the difference between conventionally produced, but close to, you know, with meadow and with fodder that is homegrown on real farms, by real farmers, and distinguish that from industrial products. And this would have been a massive support for every farming that the Commission has voiced its support for. And so I really don't understand why you needed to kind of give room to that pressure to not come up with that file. It's only the industry and maybe the retailers that have some opposition to that, clearly not the farming sector, the real farming sector. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleagues. A lot of questions about calves, fish welfare, plant-based strategy, and the big why in the room. Certain legislative revision didn't come up. I give you the floor, and I just wanted to say we have nearly 100 people online, so big interest also online from a lot of people to follow up where we are on the revision of the animal welfare legislation. Yes, Stella Kyriakides, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions and the comments. First of all, let me say that I can understand the expressed disappointment, and I also understand the comment that was made that I think it was, quote, in Parliament we focus on concrete things. And I also come from a parliamentary background, and I know that this is the case, and this is why we wanted to be sure that whatever we're putting forward is going to be able to really stand the way we felt that it should. And it is definitely not a second-class issue, and yes, I had committed to it, and I remain committed to this. I don't accept the fact that in any ways we have lowered, or I have lowered, the level of ambition. I remain committed to animal welfare, as does this Commission. I would have wanted to be ready to move forward with the other proposals, but the fact is that for the reasons I have already said, the work is still ongoing. When the legislation, the work is ongoing extensively since the beginning of the mandate to revise the EU animal welfare legislation. But at the moment, I just want to tell you that, believe me, well, if you don't, I won't say believe me, that despite the efforts we made, it was not possible to come forward even with the animal the legislation on the animal transport before the 6th of December. This was the earliest date that we were, and our services were ready to be prepared to come with that. And I wanted to make sure that it did come forward before the end of this year, because going into January would have created more problems. There were specific questions on animal transport. I want to say this, I cannot go into many details now. It is now in the inter-service consultation, but I want to share with you that the proposal aims to limit the maximum journey times for live animals. We are looking also in this proposal to increase the space allowance in the vehicles based on the EFSA recommendations. We are looking into the maximum journey times also for the export of live animals from the EU, and to require the improved surveillance tools to make sure that these rules are met until destination. We are looking at increasing really significantly the animal welfare requirements for the transport of vulnerable animals, especially for situations, for example, as unweaned calves. We are also looking at the issue to do with much stricter rules for transport where we have high temperatures. All issues that have really been creating huge issues to do with animal welfare in transport. But at the moment, what I can tell you is that I cannot share more details because this is now at the point of inter-service, but we are very aware of the issues that you have raised, and we are looking to see how these can be really effectively solved or addressed would be a better word. All of us have seen in the last few years and ongoing, really unacceptable situations for animal welfare in transport. So we've broken it down into all the different issues, and now it is at the point of inter-service consultations, and we're waiting to see the result of this so then we can move forward. The issues to do with the aquatic fish and the new center, this is in line, it's the fourth in line, yes, and it will be supporting member states and the EU. It will take place via knowledge sharing in connection with aquatic animals, but also regarding official controls of the application of the rules of the welfare of these animals. And in the following period of time, we are going to be moving forward to be sending a specific mandate to EFSA on the welfare of aquatic animals, which is something that we didn't have so far. Many of you have alluded again to the point of why we're only coming forward with the animal transport proposal and not with the rest of the animal welfare package. You are, I don't know if the right word is experts, really, in this field, because I think that you're not only experts, you're advocates for animals and animal welfare. And what I have seen in the last 4 years is that millions of animals, live animals, are transported every year in different ways, by rail, by sea, by air, both within and outside the EU. And I also saw, and I had to deal with, a number of cases where animals were really suffering during transport. And we also saw, and I witnessed, and I had to manage sea tragedies I do not want to have to manage again. So for ourselves, the fact that we were able to deal with a number of the issues that were coming up and present at least one of these parts of the packages, which is a proposal of animal transport protection in December, I think is significant. We are fully committed, and are continuing to work on the other elements of the animal welfare legislation reform, including that of phasing out cages, as set out in our communication in June 31. The key points that we have been discussing and are in discussion, and we are not there yet, are the issues to do with the length of the transition periods, which for myself is important. It's not enough just to put it forward with a transition period that is going to be not so long that it's not going to be effective for animal welfare. I'm not happy with that. The cost and the predictability of investments. So we are not there yet. We have listened to the citizens, we are listening, but I also wanted, and I chose to be here this morning, because I wanted to be as open and transparent as I can with you. We are continuing to work on all the other aspects. We are not there yet. We are not lowering the level of ambition. I want animal transport to be ready, and I want it to be able to be presented on the 6th of December. I do not want it to go into the next year. That's where we are now.
Sorry to insist, but
I'm sorry, I'm taking longer, but a lot of questions are
Yes.
repeating the same thing. I'm here. I'm sorry, I've only got another about 10 minutes because I'm running to catch a flight. I will come back if you need me again and again, and I'm hoping we'll be able to discuss the animal transport in detail when it's presented.
Just a very short question from my side. If you say it's related still to really the costs that are needed and to the transition period time, is that so? Because I hear a little bit. For me, it sounds now very clearly that it's still possible that the other three come still out during this legislative period. Is that what I hear, or is that my optimism who is unbreakable?
It's your optimism. I think it's not possible. The work is ongoing, but I do not think we're going to be ready to have it forward in time for this Parliament. I'm determined we will have at least the animal transport package, which is a huge package, ready to be in on the 6th of December. I am not at all confident that we will have the others ready.
Okay. Sorry for that, but I give the floor to my colleagues, and the next on the list is Marie, then I have Michel, then I have Anja, Niels, Petras, just that you know. Please, short question, go to the point, and yeah, Marie.
Merci. Alors, je suis un peu...
Thank you. I'm a little taken aback because I was first of all going to congratulate you for your courage in coming to a hostile committee, because that's, I know, what you would be anticipating. But I'm also rather sorry that you don't have longer to spend with us, although I understand your time constraints. I'm sure that the message we're sending to you is loud and clear, that it seems to us that the Commission is indifferent to the fate of animals and doesn't care about animal welfare. That's the message that's coming across to us quite clearly. And therefore, I'm wondering if you're not actually determined to act on animal welfare for the sake of the animals. Surely you have at least managed to take some action on climate. Couldn't you build on that and factor in some of your animal welfare proposals on that basis? Because you know we need to eat less meat and breed fewer animals for climate purposes. So how about that sort of initiative? Why have you not taken it yourselves? The region from which I come is Nouvelle-Aquitaine, and we're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, agricultural region in Europe. And here we do have initiatives on breeding of chickens and pigs. Nicolas Thierry has been in the vanguard of promoting these initiatives, and another whole host of subsidiary issues. Have you addressed that at all in the Commission? And if so, are you in a position to give us some detailed proposals as to what will be in the next CAP? Will there be provisions on animal welfare, which we desperately need? I have another question too. We have two stars, Rosalia and Björk, who are internationally known stars who've been arguing against the cultivation of salmon in aquaculture and various other types of fish that are cultivated there. There are many GMO aquaculture farms in Iceland, which are very damaging to the maritime environment. They've also been campaigning on the breeding of chickens and the way they are handled. Therefore, why is the Commission not acting to ban these things?
Please, my dear colleagues, even it was very, very interesting, but please, Michal.
I will try to do my best. I think there's a common understanding that we are very disappointed because we were promised at the beginning of the summer that there will be a package. Now we are being delivered with only a fragment of it. And I wonder who does it benefit, actually, because it's not the animals, for sure. It's not the public, despite the enormous number of ECIs. It's not the Parliament, because we are deprived of having the chance to actually work with this legislation. It's not the Commission, because it really harms the credibility of the Commission when they promise on the one side and then they don't stay to their promises. And definitely it's not the European Green Deal integrity, because this was really an integral part of the European Green Deal and now we don't see it coming. You stress that it's not because of the agriculture industry. So I'm just trying to understand it from the political point of view. Who is the beneficiary of the situation? If you can stress that, who do you see actually is the one who is having much of the situation? Because I don't see such an entity. And then the last question from myself: if this is the signal that we are currently sending to the public and in general in relation to animal welfare, how do you perceive the odds that in the next mandate there will be the Commission for Animal Welfare? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very shortly, Anna, Niels, Michaela, I think you want the floor too, and then Petras. Anna? Por favor.
Thank you, Chair. Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you. I shall try to be as brief as possible. I respect your time constraints. Can you tell us what you think you can realistically achieve by the end of this legislature in order to end forced breeding of chicken, geese, turkey, and other birds? And do you think it will be possible to stop online traffic of animals and plants in the EU market?
Myself, but it was on the turn of Anja, so I take her immediately. Sorry, but sorry.
No problem. I have a lot of questions. I try to be brief. Yesterday's vote on the Sustainable Use Regulation made it quite clear that there is currently not a majority anymore that cares for nature, for health, for biodiversity, and doesn't give a damn about animal welfare. So I am wondering, how are you dealing with that? With such disappointment, and knowing that this majority in the Parliament has been heavily influenced by the big agro industry and industrial farmers protecting factory farming and cruel practices, knowing that they will stop at nothing, including spreading lies and disinformation. I'm wondering, what has the Commission done to keep the support for the Green Deal and the animal welfare legislation alive and tackle the industry lobby? And finally, we had two very successful citizens' initiative, and the KGH and the Fur-Free Europe Citizens' Initiative. And what can you do to make sure that the European Citizens' Initiative is not becoming an obsolete instrument? How do you make sure that citizens' voices are heard and translated into clear legislation?
Thank you, Anja. Niels, Petras, and Michaela, you wanted the floor too? Yeah. Okay. Then first Niels, and then Michaela and Petras. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask you about the campaign EU for Animals. We handed in, and lots of people participated in this room, handing in 300,000 signatures to Mr. Andrea Gavinelli, who represented the European Commission. The 24th of October, we asked for a new commissioner with the title Animal Welfare in the job title. And we're waiting for your answer, what you think about this, and we're looking forward to it. So maybe you can tell us something about your ideas on this. Thank you very much.
Voilà, a short question. And then Michaela, and then Petras, please.
Yeah, thank you. Very short question. Of course, we expected a package about animal welfare at the banning of the cages. But like you said, you will propose 6 December the new regulation for the transport. But I would like to ask if there is not possible to, maybe it would be a good solution to go also the part, maybe to separate for example, lion hens, because if you do the big package, it is a really very difficult, complex legislation. And I would like to encourage my colleagues, it's not only European Commission, it's only member states who can ban cages for lion hens. As Austrian, German, Czech Republic, we can ask our governments to move ahead. Not only, I am very in favor to improve life of animals, but it's not only Commission. We can age, and our citizens are active in our member states. Our governments can be active more. Thank you.
And finally, last but not least, Petras, please.
Indeed, Chair. Not every EU citizen has a farm animal at home, but every second has a companion animal. So we heard no great news, no Christmas-like news for companion animals, whatever it comes and whenever it comes. Commissioner, online sales are outdated practice in the EU. Absolutely. It doesn't correspond, to the animal welfare. As well as this story without any end, identification and registration. We have no single market of this in the European Union. No e-passport. We are 19th century in what comes to this situation. So, any news? Any good news on this? Thank you.
I don't know if you have the possibility to still reply, otherwise we would expect written answers, but...
No, I'm going to reply.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to reply. I want to reply. First of all, I do not consider this a hostile group. This was said, I do not consider it a hostile group. I want to be clear on that. Because I think that you're a group that, first of all, we share many of the same principles, and you're a group of those speaking out for those who don't have voices, for me. Secondly, I don't know if the next commission will have a commissioner for animal welfare. I cannot say this. I am the commissioner for animal welfare in this mandate. I want that to be absolutely clear. Thirdly, I heard someone, I probably did not understand it, it said, who is this going to benefit? What we're going to do in December. It's going to benefit the welfare of animals. No, yes. Yes and no. Because we're still working, and we are still working, and we're going to make sure that this work is ongoing. But what we are putting forward, of course, that is for you to be able to then see, will be benefiting those millions of animals who are being transported every day. And that I think is important. We mustn't lose sight of that fact. The fact that we're not going ahead with the rest does not alter the fact that animal welfare remains a priority for the Commission. The preparatory work is all the time ongoing. We are going to be presenting on December 6th the animal transport. We have adopted delegated acts on livestock vessels last January. We have now 4 animal welfare centers that we have developed that we didn't have before, and we are continuing with intensifying audits. I cannot commit to what the next program will be adopting. This is not, I'm not in a position to do that now. And on the issue that you raised, it sounds as if it would be reasonable, but the reality is we cannot separate them. They're part of the package. Tried. And on a final comment, I was very happy with that question that you raised. We have a huge issue, and we know it, about the breeding of trading of cats and dogs for economic purposes. And the welfare and the later health of these animals is really put at great peril by people who have no scruples. And I know that there are many, many Europeans, and not only, whose pets are part of our families. Now, this issue has been part of our impact assessment. in the animal welfare rules. We have now FSFS scientific input. We have a report on the aspects of housing, of health of cats and dogs in commercial breeding establishments, which was important. We can see a clear need that we need to act in this area. And I can share with you that we will be able to take a decision on this issue in the coming weeks.
Coming weeks.
I am not going to say more because I don't want to say something that may not materialize, but it is a priority in the ongoing work before Christmas. Whether we manage to get there, we will see. But it's been working in parallel, may I say, a little bit quietly. Okay. Thank you. And because I know I need to go, but because there was a comment on my needing to go, I have been trying to be here at this group. I see Tilly in a number of events. It was really very difficult. Today I'm here and I'm leaving straight for a flight. But I'm available not only for your group, I'm available to meet you in meetings. If you request meetings with me for a coffee, to go through things. For the moment, what I can say with great honesty is that our level of ambition stands, and I am optimistic, because the word commitment clearly is loaded, that on December 6th we will have the package for animal transport and maybe and the response for the fur, and hopefully there may be something else in line too.
Thank you very much. And there were some open questions. We will write them down and send them. I think that's a possibility. But thank you, dear Commissioner Stella Kyriakides. But at least, yes, really, you have the courage to come here. You cannot say that from all the commissioners, that they do so, especially when not everything was possible to come out. So thank you.
We have to be honest, and we're accountable not to you, or we're accountable to you citizens, all of us. This is the truth.
And I think I can already say that we need you another time here in this group to really follow up, and we know that you will come, and that we work together in order really to advocate, as you said, and to foster also the revision of the animal welfare legislation. So some good news we got today, some still disappointment, I know that also, but we keep on working together. I think that's important. And yeah, thank you for all of you for having been here, and for all your very excellent questions, and also nearly the 100 people online. Thank you very much, and take care. Thank and good flight.
Thank you.
A group picture we should take. Yes, good you say that. I'm thinking of this plane to take, but maybe we can down. Shall we go down quickly and?